So I volunteered, and it was in Austin, like with camouflage up and brown and all that, and it was no heating, and I was driving along, and it was one of the coldest winters in about 40 years, like 39, 40. Boy, and I had my great coat on, but it was still cold, and then it started to get foggy, so you could roll the windshield up like that, so the cold air and fog was blowing in. And I was looking for his directions. I don't know how I ever found the place, how I ever got back. But on one road I was on, I knew I was in the right direction, but it was all icy. And without me doing anything, the car just turned right round like that and faced the opposite way. It slid on the ice. You can only do these things when you're young. So when I finally got the car back on the road again, and I found a place and delivered the dispatches and came back, and how I found a way in the fog, I don't know, but I just, the Lord must have been looking after me good. But anyway, got back and went to bed. Just, we were in a farm in the Pollock Alley, and an old-fashioned farm, and a farmer who was, and they had a latrine, where everybody went, and they after maybe about a month, a guy would come with his horse and cart, and it's around like a cylinder, and they would pump all this latrine out into the, and then spread it on the fields.
Right.
Oh, and sometime when you're driving along, you nearly went unconscious with the smell. Terrible. We thought how backward the French were. Oh, and we saw some of the Frenchman soldiers when we first got there in Cherbourg. And of course we crossed the channel, like on the 1st of September. And it was after that, because, we were 3 days and 3 or 4 days, and we got the train all the way down to Southampton, and then we took up the boat there, and I was on duty. I said, well, what do I have to do on the boat? He says, you have to make sure that everyone, even a colonel or a major, has got his life jacket on. So I was walking down the deck, and all these officers were yakking away. I said, excuse me, sir, but you're supposed to have your life jacket. Yeah, okay. Go back again, they're still, So another guy said, don't bother, but you just have to tell them you're doing your duty. And then we got off at Cherbourg, and we got on this old beat-up train like a cattle truck or something. It was, a passenger thing, but there was no comfort, all just wooden seats. And then we stopped at the station, and we saw these French soldiers, and talk about scruffy. None of them had shaved for about 3 days. And, they wanted to exchange cigarettes, and their cigarettes were so strong. Just about blew my hair off. But you got 50, you got a tin, a nice tin of 50 cigarettes every day, every week.
Wow.
In the army, so no wonder he started to smoke, because he said,
might as well.
And there was nothing to do. War is 90% boredom and 10% sheer fright. That's a description of war.
So how did you get back from?
How I got back? Well, I was on leave. Worst luck, I was on leave, which was good, but after I'd only been home about 5 days instead of 10 days, there was on the radio, no TV, radio came on and says, all troops that are on leave from the British Expeditionary Force, the BEF, return immediately to your unit in France. So I had to pack my kit bag and all my equipment, my water bottle and my big pack on the back and a small pack here. I mean, the definition of a soldier is really Daneville, but I just reported to the movement transportation officer in Arras at the station. I said, where do I go? He says, I'm with the second, 20, I don't know, it wasn't a construction section, 20, I can't even remember, but it was a signal section, but we didn't put up big poles. We put smaller stuff up, you know, like
More
tie them.
temporary. kind
And
of
sometimes we buried them too. We buried maybe a 20 or 40 pair cable. And that's one time when we got rum all day. These were important lines, so we could dig down about a foot or 14 inches.
special digging
And,
rum
it was pouring with
ration.
rain and freezing, like in December. And we had our sort of waterproof sort of things on us, like I don't know what I
Mask
call
or
them.
something like that.
Something like, oh yeah, we had a plastic coat, like very thin plastic, didn't give you any heat, but it turned the rain off. So we worked all day at that. When we came back, the officer said to the sergeant major, he says, call them all out before they go to their billets. And we just billeted above the farmhouse, you know, right in the rafters, you know. So we had to parade, and he says, well, what are we paraded for? We just finished a big job, soaking wet, we're freezing. He said, everyone's going to get a rum ration. Even the army has a rum ration now, if they know, because we were cold and all that, and he didn't want anyone else to get sick. So we all lined up.
And the rum was supposed to keep you from getting sick?
Yeah, you know, it warm you up, same as the Navy. You know, now they don't even have them in the Navy, because now they have all this modern heating and stuff. But in the days of the shale,
That's the best they have.
yeah, that's the best thing. They've got a big double. Anyway, they came to me that they just, what's your name? And the guy would mark us, Doug Pollock. I said, sorry, sir, I don't drink. He said, you don't drink? He says, okay, Sergeant, give him a double dose. Oh, I drank it, and oh, it's just like a fire going down my throat. Then it went down into my esophagus and my stomach. And next thing I know my toes are twinkling and going like this. But it helped, boy. We slept like a top that night. It's so important. That's why they drink whiskey in Scotland.
Mhm.
You know, it's really done for health.
Either that or heat the house.
Yeah.
All right,
So that was that, and then what happened then? Oh yeah, then I was. So they said, "Oh, your section's moved up to the front, near the front, to repair the lines and stuff like that." Because the Blitzkrieg, you know, they told you on the radio, the Blitzkrieg started. The Germans have advanced. They've taken Holland and Belgium, and they're now in France. And so I couldn't join them. She said, "Oh, just fall in," or told me what address to go to, and says, "Report to the corporal there, like, and he's waiting for, you know, some more signals to come, and then you've got to go to the port of Boulogne." So he finally came, and so I went aboard with all my stuff, and one truck, they called them lorries there, like one truck was with the guys, and the other truck was full of all our equipment and stuff that we needed. So we got to Boulogne, and before we got there, the roads near Boulogne were deep with people escaping, the French escaping from Boulogne, because they knew the Germans, they had the radio too, they knew the Germans were nearly at Arras, where I just left. So we went there, and then we finally got into Boulogne, dead slow, and then we found a place for a billet, and then we said, for 3 days we found a motel which was going to be like headquarters, and then we had to lay telephone lines to different places, and this is the headquarters in this hotel. And we just got it finished 3 days, but every night the bombers were coming over, and we were, you know, near the harbour and in some building or so. And this guy, who was a corporal in the first World War, he was as nervous as anything. He says, "We never had anything like this, getting bombed right above you, you know, like, and terrible." So boy, and then we finished with the hotel work, and that night, the third night, when everything was completed, the first bomb landed and blew that hotel to pieces, because the German fifth column knew. They had spies, and we called them fifth column. They would ask you, like, especially in Arras now, they would ask you, would you like a photo of your section? And we said, oh, that'd be great. You know, this lieutenant would say, that's great. This guy spoke perfect English. He says, okay, so let's get here. And what's your group of signals? And the signals, the CS thing, signals. And then they ask questions about, well, that's later on. That's when I went to Italy another time. Yeah, see, that's
But
why
they-
you have
they
to be
found
here.
out
You have
that
to
was
be here
the
for a few
headquarters.
weeks. Like.
So how did you get back to England?
Yeah, so we got bombed out of Boulogne. The next place was Calais. Next port was Calais. And on the way there, you know, the German, they had the air, command of the air at that time. And so you had to watch. The driver had a guy beside him and he was watching all the time to see if any planes were coming. He would look out the window. And if he saw a plane coming, we didn't know what it was. It could have been a British or a German plane. But anyway, he said, stop. And the guy would put on the brakes. We'd all jump out of the truck and get in the field and lay down. And we did this about 4 or 5 times. And then one time we did it. And brakes squealed, so we knew what that meant. We opened the flap door and jumped out. And I looked behind, and I saw this plane coming really fast. He was right behind me, but you know, a distance away, but he'd be up with me. So I ran like mad and I dived into a bush, just waiting for the bullets to thud. No sound. The guy with the pilot must have been dead, and he just went straight over a hill, and then we heard a big explosion. But I came out covered with about 3,000 thorns. Oh, I was picking out a thorn. I jumped into the wrong bush. Anyway, so we got to Calais, and by this time, some of the guys had, you know, they'd stayed behind, and they were fighting. They were actually fighting the Germans. Like a friend of mine was, and they said, "Where is this guy?" I said, "Oh, I don't know." But in the end, he ended up as a prisoner of war for a heck of a long time. Anyway, we went there to Calais, and we were so exhausted laying lines for 3 days that when we got to Calais, they found a place, you know, and there was a big room, and there was 6 German pilots there, and there was like straw on the floor, and they said, "We want volunteers to guard these prisoners for tonight." I said, "They're not getting me. I'm so tired." I just dropped on the floor and I slept, and I never heard one thing, and I reckon they had the biggest bombardment that night, and I never, you can be so tired you don't hear anything. But anyway, so there, that was it, and then we knew that in the docks, like a ship had come in from Britain, you know, with motorcycles, trucks, and Bren gun carriers, and equipment and all stuff like that, and by that time we heard when they got so many tanks came off, you know, and they were told go up to every road that came into Calais. These tanks had to go right to the end of the road and stay there and fight the Germans when they tried to come in to Calais, and that was a tank corps. And then they said, by that time,
Probably not the kind of job to get in the army.
oh no, yeah, by this, was it?
Well, the whole German army was
Yeah,
coming in on you
Yeah,
guys,
they
right?
they were surrounding us
They
now.
surrounded him, and all of the English and
then,
France were left in this
then
one place.
we were told that we had to guard, I think it was only one day in that place, then we had to guard the British embassy, but they had all left 3 weeks ago, the British embassy. So we went in there, about 3 stories high, and we said, okay, just move in there, find any room you want, and then we'll be getting orders to see what we have to do in Calais. So the order came, we fell in and called their names and all that. And I said to the officer, I said, "Excuse me, sir, but I loaned my rifle to a guy to go on sentry duty last night, and he hasn't given me it back. And if I haven't got my rifle, I'll be put on a charge." So he says, "Well, hurry up and get in there, then look in the rooms and see." So I went in the rooms, all the ground floor, not there. Second floor, nothing. Up the top floor, couldn't find it. So I came downstairs, and I'd been in this half on the left, that to go with Section Sergeant Major, who was a regular guy, and I was to be there. So when I came down, that section was gone, and the lieutenant says, "Fall in here," and I fell with him, and we went back to the docks and got the first and last boat. And this crowd had to defend Cali, even though we were a non-combatant unit. We had to defend Cali, and some of them were killed, some escaped, and the rest were prisoners. But we got on this boat, you know, and they directed us right down. We were there
This was the
first.
boat that had brought over the motorcycles
Yeah,
and the vehicles?
motorcycles and everything. So we said right down into the bilges, right down these steep ladders all the way down. And then after that we heard that all the screws were going, we were leaving and got out of the harbour and only got out, about half a mile when we heard this. The German artillery had saw us leaving, and they were firing on us, and the first salvo went too long, the next salvo was too short, and the next salvo of shells burst overhead, and the shrapnel was wounding and killing people on the deck. So I says, here we are in the blinking bottom of the ship, and we could hear, you know, like submarines, we could hear like explosions. So we says, you know, we're going to drown like rats if we don't get up. So I'm not going to stay here. I'm going up to a balloon, said what they say, what orders, and I went right up to the top, and 3 or 4 other guys, and then we thought, oh, that's great, and then that's when the artillery started. And we were wishing we were down in the bottom of the ship. Oh, so finally we saw the white cliffs of Dover. Boy, whenever I see that or hear that sun, that reminds me, because we finally got out of range, and then, you know, it's 20 miles across, and it was daylight. And the white cliffs of Dover. Oh, I'm telling you what a mess we were in. We hadn't had any food for 3 days. We were, you know, looking for food in people's homes, and finally we found a sort of place where they had the British NAFI, called the NAFI, the Navy, Army and Air Force Institute, and they'd all left, you know, but here there was Mars bars and all kinds of beer and stuff, so we just helped ourselves to that. But anyway, we were so starving, when we got on deck, boy, this artillery started, I hid under some sort of machine that was on deck, you know, and hid under there and just waiting for something to hit me, you know. So anyway, we got there, and then it was just wonderful getting back. And I don't really know what date it was, but it was sometime in May. The Blitzkrieg started probably about the 1st of May, and by the 17th of May they'd done all that distance, conquered Holland, Belgium, and the north of France. So that's when we got away, and then, of all things, boy, they treated us royal. They said, what do you need in clothing? We had the same socks on for a whole week, and, you know, working away, putting lines up.
Marching
and all that. We couldn't even pull them off. They just stripped off in strips.
Ew.
Rotted. So they gave you new boots, new shoes, new tunics, and they sent us to a place where we could get all that stuff, and towels, and then they sent us to a little Yorkshire place called Wombwell, and this woman, they volunteered to take people in until they sent us, you know, further up Yorkshire. So we stayed there, and they had the little town band came out, and they treated us like we were heroes, as if we'd done here we were escaping. They played the band. These are the beat. Well, we were the BEF, you know, so we were just the lucky ones, you know. And they had the drum, and they played the stuff and marched us. And the mayor gave us a big. He says, they told us where each person had to go, and we went there. And then this woman, she was a widow already. Her husband was. Wanted to be in the Air Force, so he was training to be a pilot, but he did something wrong and he was killed. So, and then we were only there, and one thing I always remember, you know, Yorkshire's famous for cricket. You know, they're one of the best in the league in Britain, like they're great at cricket. So they had every village or town has a team, you know, a cricket team. So they said, oh, we want you to play, we want to keep you busy, and we want you to play cricket. But she said, we're all from Scotland, like we don't play cricket, only the rich play cricket when they go to these universities. They said, never mind, you'll soon learn, we'll show you what you do. So we went to the cricket pitch one morning and we put the 3 wickets in like that, and the belt, something on the top, I forget its name, and then they said, well, who's going to go in first to bat? He says, oh, well, because I said like a fool, I said, oh, I've played a bit of cricket, you know, with a soft ball, like, just occasionally with the hard ball, leather ball. So I said, well, you have to go in. He said, I don't want to go in. They tell them I've got a real fast bowler there, and boy, never mind, go in and just do what you can and hit the ball if you can see it. So I went there, I was the first in there, and I saw this guy, I thought he was leaving the pitch, like he was going so far away, then he turned around, then he was starting to run faster and faster, and he had the ball in his hand, and he overhand like that. I never even saw the ball. Swished past the wickets. Oh, I survived one. And I thought, gee, if that ball hit me, boy, I'd be out of the war. But anyway, next time I just had the bat there, and you know, they have springs in the handle so you don't get a shock, you know, skulls, forget what it's called. Anyway, I came and I went that. Never saw the ball again, and my middle wicket was 25 yards away, out. Oh, thank goodness for that. I said, okay, the next guy can go in. Oh, I don't think we scored any runs at all. What's the next thing?
We're looking for number 4
Yeah, number 4 on your date.
on your timeline. Important things. Would that be meeting your wife or
Oh
getting
yeah,
married?
yeah, meeting my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, we met and got engaged in 4 months, and we were married 3 months later in York, in shelter town of York, which New York is called New York, but the old York, we were in Old York.
What date was that again?
Andrew.
The
1941.
28th of November, so that's 11/28. No, it's
Yeah.
not, it's March. It was 3/28/42.
42.
42, yeah.
So what would be what would be number 5? We have 3 more events.
3 more?
Well, I think so.
Oh,
We've
5?
got 4.
You got 4?
We got 4. We
Yeah.
need 3 more.
Wait,
4,
3 more.
okay. The first child was born when I was in Italy.
Uh-huh.
And,
We'll just say birth of children.
yeah, but-
Otherwise, we'll use up
yeah,
all the rest.
start of the family
Start of
when I
the
was
family.
overseas in Italy.
And you didn't get to see Barbara for a year and a half?
Yeah, more than a year. Barbara's a year and a half plus 9 months. That's 2 years and 3 months I never saw Joan.
Really?
The very time when you wanted to be with her.
And that would be, let's see, if it's 2003 right now, and she is 58.
Yeah, 44, so that would be 44, that's 56. No,
Well, when were you in Italy?
Wait, take away 50 equals 1950.
we
1953.
moved to Italy in about
5.
October 19...
That would be 1945.
No, that's when the war ended.
Yeah, so that'd be before then.
Oh yeah.
1944 then?
Well, that's when I arrived in Italy, like, about October 1943.
Uh-huh.
And then we had October, November and December, and that was our first Christmas away, and I got a good job being a full corporal. You know, my captain was an earl. It's an aristocracy, and he was the best officer I ever had. I would have gone through hell for him. He was so kind and made sure everyone's satisfied with the food that they've got, and anyone's got any problems, and he wouldn't eat at any, then he would not sit with us, of course. They would sit in his little truck, and his batman, each officer had a batman who polished his shoes and his buttons and did jobs for him. And he would sit in there, but the batman would come and sit with us, but the batman would bring his food. He just ate out of like billy cans like we did. And he never drank coffee or tea or any drink at all.
A man worthy of nobility.
He's what?
A man worthy of nobility.
Yeah, nobility, and he used to sign his checks, signed Captain the Earl Kitchener. He was Lord Kitchener's grandson. And a joke, it's not a joke, it's a true story. His mother used to drive out in the Rolls Royce, with the chauffeur, and see her son up on the telephone pole like we have to go, and do things. Oh, yes, you shouldn't be doing that. That's dangerous. He said, oh, yeah, I've got to do what they do, And I'll just be very careful and drive off. But he was the nicest guy. Oh, just tremendous. So that was the family, and then what's next? End of the war.
Okay.
Armistice, or whatever they call it.
VE Day?
Hmm?
VE Day? Victory in
No,
Europe?
but the thing is, I was in Italy,
Uh-huh.
and the war ended in Europe in May, and you know when I got home?
When?
Not till December.
Really?
December about the 12th. And during that time when the war was over, we were away up in Italy in Rimini, then we came down further, and then we ended up in Bari, which is a port on the heel of Italy, a big port. And we stayed there several miles out of town in bivouacs, and we had German prisoners of war that they would come one day and tidy up the place, and you could leave a cigarette or a box of cigarettes there, and while they did your tent and all that, the Germans would never take a single thing, but if you left even half a cigarette, and when it was the Italians' turn, they took everything they could find. I mean, I don't want to sound that, but they were starving, and they never got anything. They were really poor.
What was the nicest part of Italy, you thought?
Oh,
Andrew,
I went to Rome twice, and I even was blessed by the Pope. And it was an accident. I went twice on a leave there, and the second time, nobody wanted to go to the Vatican. They were all Scottish guys I was with. Who wants to go in a Pope's place? So I went there. I wanted to see the Vatican, and I went, and I saw a group of GIs, and there seemed to be some guy was talking to them. So I went and joined them. And he was telling about this. He says, now we're going to this room, we went into this room. I just followed them, and I looked up. It was a Sistine Chapel, the marvelous thing that Michelangelo did on his back painting of God and all the beautiful things. Oh, I'm telling you, there's more wealth in the Vatican, St. Peter's, than anywhere else. Marvelous. So I went, and then they said, oh, how long are we going to stay here? Oh, the Pope's going to come. So in come the Swiss guards, about 4 of them, with the Pope in the middle and another 4 guards, and he blessed us in 5 languages. And here I was a Scot that was anti-Catholic. Oh, I felt really guilty then. No, I didn't. I felt happy. Anything else?
You need at least one more date.
Oh, one more. Oh, that's when I had my ingrown toenail.
How about when you immigrated?
No, emigration to the New World in May. That's 5. I don't know, about 5-3, and we got there in 5.5 days. 5/3/56.
So you arrived in
Jill was 53. She's 2 years older than me.
So you arrived in 1956.
The one?
You arrived in 1956.
And
Yeah.
And
Oh
what
yeah.
city did you
Yeah,
go?
56.
And you
We
went
arrived.
to where in Canada?
The one?
And where did you go to in Canada?
Oh, Toronto. That's where I had a brother.
Right.
Yeah,
Alan,
him that
right?
was sending me, the Star newspaper, and you'd read the things, and he says, if you can earn $100 between the two of you, you can live comfortably. So I was earning $50 a week as a filing clerk with the Department of highways for the Ontario.
Well, you worked for the Department of Highways too, huh?
Yeah,
Because that's what Andrew,
the-
my dad.
yeah, but these guys like your dad would come in and they would want the field notes for a certain area that they're going to do, and so they would want so many maps and field notes, and if they wanted maps, they'd have to go down to the big place where they made the maps, the big
Cartography
Machine.
department.
yeah, photography. Yeah, so I did it a year, but they do that. People said, we looked for jobs for 3 weeks and couldn't find anything, and I was always looking on the wrong side of the road for the bus. Looking for this way, then the bus was going the other way. So there was 3 weeks without job, and some friend of my brother Alan, he was a success. He was really good. He was a commercial artist. So is that the last thing when we
think
we
that's
stayed
the last
8
thing.
years in Canada.
8 years in Canada.
8 years, and we really loved it. And we were living like an aristocrat would live in England.
Mm-hmm.
We had a phone, we had hardwood floors, and central heating. Oh, it was heaven. You could be below zero outside and you're going around like this. And
Yeah.
oh, we just loved it.